Hello, and welcome to BIM 610 Extended, Exporting Data from Revit to COBie-MHS, a how-to guide. This video will review the COBie data format and provide an overview of using COBie for MHS building projects. This demonstrates a solution using Revit. However, there are multiple other platforms and tools available to achieve the requirements. The purpose of this video is to provide an overview of COBie and its role in the facility lifecycle, outline the importance of COBie for the MHS, demonstrate one solution using the Autodesk COBie Toolkit for Revit, and review important aspects of the workflow. We will now review the importance of data for MHS projects to support full life cycle management of the building. This includes the support of key data after project execution. Data is created at each stage of the building lifecycle. A BIM can contain a large amount of this data, but project information can also reside in many places outside of the model. Project data includes such materials as equipment specs, warranty information, and maintenance schedules. The majority of this information is created and gathered prior to the operations and maintenance phase of the building lifecycle. This data is useful during project execution, but also beyond project execution in support of ongoing facility management. This information may exist in multiple places and be stored in different formats. The MHS Minimum BIM Requirements, or MBR, standardize the format and coordinate the exchange of this information throughout the facility lifecycle. A project BIM will be developed containing specific MHS data requirements and support MHS BIM objectives by deliver medical equipment and furniture data and real property installed equipment data from a project BIM to MHS data systems. Support the interoperability of required data elements across the MHS facility lifecycle management. The mandatory data fields required in a BIM are detailed in the appendices of the MHS BIM Minimum Requirements document. These data requirements include parameters for the project-level data, room-level data, real property installed equipment, or RIPE component data, and medical equipment and furniture component data. The real property installed equipment and medical equipment and furniture objects are required to be managed in the COBie format. In the next few slides, let's briefly review the COBie framework and specific application for MHS projects. COBie, short for the Construction Operations Building Information Exchange, is an industry framework for organizing, managing, and exchanging construction project data throughout the facility lifecycle. It was developed by the Building Smart Alliance. Its goal is to help project teams organize, manage, and exchange project data throughout the facility lifecycle. The final COBie exchange under the MHS Minimum BIM Requirements, or MBR, occurs at project handover. However, COBie provides efficiency throughout the facility lifecycle whenever information about spaces and equipment needs to be collected and exchanged. COBie is a standard for facilitating data exchange, used to collect and coordinate facility information from a variety of sources, employed to provide owners and operators with a single deliverable that can be used throughout the facility lifecycle to include facility management. COBie is not just a spreadsheet, an application or tool, or a fully automated process. COBie organizes information in multiple categories. Categories are represented as individual worksheets in a COBie spreadsheet. Not all of the data organized by COBie is necessarily developed within BIM. The process of creating project information begins early, during the programming phase through project execution, where the project team develops the building space, systems, and equipment design. During the execution phase, which includes design and construction, multiple stakeholders develop the project data in detail and ultimately deliver the building and its data to MHS at project turnover. COBie provides the framework to support this information development during the project. This data will be developed by many different parties within the project team in multiple places, some within the model, and if approved as defined in the MHS MBR external to the BIM. The COBie framework standardizes and organizes the project data, and at project completion, it is transferred using COBie-MHS to the MHS's facility management system, DIMLS-FM, for use in ongoing facilities management. There are multiple benefits to using COBie during MHS project development. It provides an acknowledged standard for organizing and exchanging project data. COBie helps to eliminate redundant data creation throughout the project phases. It leverages BIM's inherent capability for data management. COBie assists in full lifecycle management. It organizes data developed early in the project process from SEPs, supports data development and review throughout the project, and provides a consolidated data repository at project handover instead of an ad hoc collection of disparate documents. The COBie framework specifies several formats that can be used for exchanging the data developed during the project with external information systems. A STEP physical file, which is an ASCII data format defined by the International Standards Organization, or ISO. IFC XML format files, an extensible markup language, or XML format, customized for IFC support. Spreadsheet formats, such as those used by the popular Microsoft Excel software application. COBie data for MHS projects are to be exchanged via a spreadsheet file format. We will now review how COBie will assist MHS project development. COBie organizes information created and collected during MHS project development, which has traditionally resided in many different formats and locations. Data developed in COBie and delivered at project completion will be imported into the MHS's Facilities Management Data System, DIMLS-FM. COBie is required as part of the MHS Minimum BIM Requirements. Only a subset of a project's COBie data may be resident in the BIM if approved as described in the MHS MBR. The MHS Minimum BIM Requirements states that the COBie format is required to support the exchange of project, room, and object data categories in BIM. This includes real property installed equipment and medical equipment and furniture. This is coordinated using the BIM or a combination of multiple tools available to link or exchange information with the BIM. In reference to COBie, the minimum BIM requirements state that specific MHS object-level parameters are to be contained in the model. The contractor, designers and builders, shall maintain an exportable table from the BIM providing these parameters. Data shall be exportable to COBie, using COBie-MHS requirements. The project team is required to provide an export of the data in the COBie-MHS format for interim submittals. This data will be used as a draft submittal prior to the final to ensure the final is in compliance with the COBie-MHS structure and accepted by the government. The final set of data will be delivered at the building occupancy date, or BOD, and will be included with the final project dataset. The delivered data will be imported to the MHS's Facility Management System, DIMLS-FM, to support the full lifecycle management of the facility. The COBie framework contains multiple data categories. Not all COBie categories are required to support the COBie-MHS. Project teams can specify inclusion of additional categories as needed based on project objectives. However, the minimum data sets described in the minimum BIM requirements are not optional. A subset of these categories will be resident in a BIM. These categories are highlighted using purple boxes. COBie-MHS will use some, but not all, of the COBie framework. Custom data types will be accommodated via COBie's Attribute tab to accommodate MHS data requirements. The MHS Minimum BIM Requirements detail the requirements for intake of delivered MHS COBie project data. We will review one of multiple methods using an application to assist COBie development in a Revit project, Autodesk's COBie Toolkit for Revit. Software tools are available from vendors to assist BIM project teams in developing, managing, and exporting project data using the COBie framework. We will review one of these software applications. Autodesk has developed a free, downloadable add-in application for its Revit BIM software that supports COBie data. navigate to the URL displayed on this slide to download the toolkit. Also, download the user's guide for more detailed instructions on installing and using this add-in. Follow the instructions in the Revit COBie Toolkit User's Guide for setting up a project for COBie. Please note that the toolkit is not intended to be a fully automated application. The BIM team will need to set up the toolkit in accordance with the project's BIM execution plan. Successful use of COBie in Revit project requires experience in both Revit and Microsoft Excel. Accommodating MHS COBie requirements for RIPI and medical equipment components will also require skilled setup and execution from the project team. Experienced Revit users know that models are comprised of 3D objects that represent building components, such as furniture, doors, mechanical equipment, and the like. Revit components also have affiliated data parameters. For COBie projects, the Revit toolkit attaches additional parameters required by the COBie standard to objects in the model for tracking COBie required data. Revit schedule views are employed to track and display COBie data from components in the model. This data can also be exported from the Revit model. The Revit toolkit provides several schedule views for standard COBie categories. The visual layout of a Revit schedule view allows the user to easily view and update the data. Exporting Revit schedules will create text files that are easily imported into a COBie formatted spreadsheet. The Revit COBie schedule views created by the toolkit follow the organization of the COBie data categories. MHS COBie projects will utilize 2 of these for component data. The COBie 2 component schedule view will hold the basic parameters defined in the COBie 2 component tab. The COBie 2 components to schedule view will be used as well to select which components to schedule. A Revit model will contain many components. Not all of them will be scheduled within COBie. The Revit toolkit's COBie 2 components to schedule view is used to select components to schedule. The user will toggle the checkbox in the COBie type schedule column to on for those components to include. For MHS projects, this will include all RIPI and medical equipment and furniture components in the model. Components toggled on within the Revit toolkit's COBie 2 components to schedule will populate the COBie 2 type schedule. Room objects in the MHS project model generally will be listed on the COBie 2 Space for Rooms schedule installed with the Revit COBie toolkit. Since data can be developed and scheduled by employing either Revit rooms or spaces, the COBie template supplies 2 distinct schedule views that can accommodate this information and facilitate exporting the data for inclusion in the COBie space spreadsheet. Check with your specific project guidelines for which to employ in your work process and deliverables. During BIM development, use the Revit COBie Toolkit's command Update COBie v2.3 Parameters 2012. It will update key COBie parameters in the model not otherwise edited by Revit users. These are required COBie fields that are included in each tab in the COBie spreadsheet. They contain general information specifically for COBie delivery and not data otherwise required for project support. It also assigns a unique ID to model components, a specific requirement for COBie. Data can be exported from any Revit schedule view to a delimited text file, which can then be opened in many spreadsheet programs. For example, to export a medical and equipment schedule, first open the schedule view in the Revit workspace. Execute the Revit command sequence: Export, Reports, Schedule. In the Export Schedule dialog, specify a name and directory for the schedule and click Save. Under the Export Schedule Appearance dialog, accept the default export options and click OK. Revit saves the file, which then must be formatted for the COBie spreadsheet outside of Revit. For MHS project COBie schedule views that are to be exported, including those for components, spaces, and types. MHS does not utilize zones unless you are using zones to equate to departments and functional areas. We will now review how the custom data required by the MHS Minimum BIM Requirements for COBie can be accommodated within Revit. COBie uses the Attribute tab to store information that describes components. The Attribute tab will contain the SEPs parameter values associated with objects in the Revit model. As described earlier in the video, these parameter values are provided by the SEPs equipment plan and are imported into the model using the SEPs BIM tool. To populate the Attribute tab, Revit users on MHS projects will need to create Revit schedules for medical equipment and furniture, SEPs, and for RIPI parameter data. These schedules will be exported from Revit to delimited text files for eventual import into the project's consolidated COBie data file. Components in the project model contain MHS data fields which describe the specific attributes for each unique asset, such as how wide is it, how much power does it draw, what is its JSN. Revit schedule views must be created by the BIM project team to manage and eventually export the RIPI and medical equipment and furniture data fields to COBie. The BIM team for an MHS project will create custom schedule views that contain the required MHS parameters. Separate schedules will be created for RIPI and for medical equipment and furniture components as they have different sets of required data fields. Model components that are created by the CEPS BIM tool also create and populate MHS data parameters for each component. The initial CEPS mass objects were created as Revit furniture components. If this is still the case, create a furniture schedule for the data. If the components are in another category, such as specialty equipment, create a schedule for that category or a multi-category schedule. It is possible that a project will have multiple equipment schedules, particularly if it employs multiple Revit models. Real property installed equipment, or RIPI, are items of equipment that are affixed and built into the facility as an integral part of the building. MHS RIPI data fields, detailed in the appendix tables of the minimum BIM requirements, are currently not automatically added to Revit or via an add-in. As the object information evolves through the project phases, the project BIM team will need to manually create Revit parameters for RIPI data fields and apply them to model components identified as real property installed equipment, populate the parameters with data values, create a custom Revit schedule view holding RIPI data fields, export the RIPI schedule view. The COBie 2 component schedule included in the Autodesk COBie toolkit for Revit will set up the required COBie-specific fields for any component in the model, including RIPI objects. The exported schedule will eventually be transferred to the Attribute tab in the project's COBie spreadsheet. The format used by the COBie Attribute tab differs from that used by Revit schedules. An additional conversion step is therefore needed to reformat the exported Revit data for a COBie spreadsheet. Simply explained, the MHS data fields will be arranged in columns within Revit schedule views. A COBie spreadsheet's Attribute tab will list the fields by rows. The Autodesk Revit for COBie toolkit currently does not support an automated means to format and deliver data to the COBie Attribute tab. The project BIM team must take additional steps to deliver this data. Export the RIPI and medical equipment and furniture schedules from Revit using the standard command sequence using the default options. Follow naming conventions established by your BIM project team for these files. A utility, Revit Parameter Converter.exe, is available at no cost on the web to reformat the text files output from Revit into the required format for a COBie attribute sheet and Microsoft Excel. Download the utility from the same web page on which the Autodesk COBie toolkit for Revit resides at the URL displayed below. Run the utility from the location on your file system where it resides. Schedules created for the purpose of populating the Attribute tab must contain the family and type and Revit ID parameters in order to use this utility. The utility provides two functions. The first function will process the component data file exported from Revit and deliver a COBie-compliant Excel file. After clicking on the utility's Process Component Sheet button, navigate your file system, select the text file to be reformatted, and click Open. The utility will open Microsoft Excel and display the reformatted data in a new Excel file. The data can then be saved and transferred to the COBie Attributes tab for the project. The second function provided by the utility will reformat the exported Revit schedules designated to hold attribute data, such as the CEPS furniture schedule file. Click on the Process Attribute Sheet button. Proceed to navigate to and select the text file exported from Revit and click Open. The utility will process the text file and then open the reformatted results in Microsoft Excel. Save the file. It will eventually be incorporated into the master COBie deliverable. While the workflows for developing COBie data in MHS Revit projects are relatively straightforward, You will be using a part of the standard COBie framework, plus developing data for custom MHS requirements. Let's review two workflows. First, there are basic data fields required by the COBie format. These can be set up and managed in the Revit model by using the COBie toolkit for Revit. Setting up the toolkit will create the basic parameters required by COBie in the project model, as well as provide Revit schedule views formatted for COBie sheets. MHS projects will use three of these COBie schedules for spaces or rooms, components, and types. Adding custom data fields to the basic COBie workflows may be necessary. MHS requires two categories of components: medical equipment and furniture, and real property installed equipment, be developed in project BIMs and be delivered in the COBie format. The COBie framework accommodates custom data through its Attributes tab. MHS Revit projects, parameters for both categories, will be added to those components in the model, and Revit schedule views will need to be created to display data for the components. These schedules will be exported from Revit as text files and transferred to a COBie formatted attribute sheet. The data developed and delivered from BIM via the COBie format will be imported into MHS's Enterprise System for Facility Management, DIMLS, after project delivery. This process relies on data provided in the COBie spreadsheet form and supported by exchange processes and utilities developed by MHS in support of DIMLS. The MHS employs COBie to help organize and deliver equipment data from project models. The MHS Minimum BIM Requirements describes the information that must be contained in the COBie deliverable provided to MHS. MHS employs a customized version of the COBie standard termed MHS COBie. A portion of the overall project COBie deliverable is developed in BIM. The COBie data development process can be completed by a project team using Revit and Excel and software such as the Autodesk COBie toolkit for Revit. We hope this video helps explain the value of using COBie. It has demonstrated one of multiple ways to effectively organize and manage the data associated with a project to achieve the MHS Minimum BIM Requirements to achieve the COBie-MHS data standardization. For additional information, please visit the MHS website at the MHS World Class Facilities website at the URL shown here.